You've selected a show from the Podcast Jukebox, a DIY podcast network.
It's Will Shawn Podcast. The internet cried out for 2 more blowhards, and they courageously answered that call. Armed with the weapon of wit, each week they're joined by guests to discuss movies, television, pop culture, and anything else that's pissing them off. Take it away, boys.
I'm Will Link.
And I'm Sean David.
And this is Will Shawn Podcast.
So drink your gin and tonica and smoke your marijuana. If you really, really wanna, have a happy Hanukkah. Happy Hanukkah, Will.
Oh, happy Hanukkah to you.
Yeah.
A classic. You're bringing back a classic.
It's a good one. Never gets old. It's our one song.
So, here's the thing.
Yeah.
By time the people listen to this, everyone will have seen Star Wars. Star Wars will be out. It'll be fine. Everything will be over.
Yeah. Literally, everything will be over.
I am in peak spoiler paranoia mode. The premiere was a few nights ago. I know people who went.
Yep. Press screenings.
I made a last-minute try to sneak into it myself. I swear to God, I thought it was going to work for a second. I have had to... have you used the function on Twitter where you mute words?
Never. I just let the stream of information hit me like a fire hose.
I have muted 24 various words, phrases, and names from appearing on my Twitter feed. So, like... John Boyega could die in a horrible accident.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know because I've blocked the name John Boyega. Like, I've blocked...
Well, I have something terrible to tell you.
I have blocked Star Wars. I have blocked hashtag Star Wars. I've blocked @Star Wars. I have blocked The Last Jedi. I've blocked hashtag The Last Jedi. I have blocked hashtag Star Wars The Last Jedi because something popped up in my feed of that.
Episode 8?
Oh, I didn't block that. Shit. I even blocked Porg. I don't know what the Porg's even doing in this movie. I'm taking no chances. I have blocked everything. I was out with our friend Nick, and I went on this crazy, like, we were seeing photos coming in, and I went on this crazy, like, for 10 minutes. I didn't speak. I was just, like every Snoke, Ray, everybody is blocked.
Domhnall Gleeson?
No, I didn't block.
Gleason's gonna sneak up on you with something.
I didn't block R2D2.
Uh-oh.
I didn't block BB-8. Oh, I'm fucked. I gotta go. After this podcast.
I got work to do. I'm gonna be up for hours.
As of recording this, though,
Yeah.
I only have to survive 48 more hours without a spoiler.
Yeah. So far, it's remained... nothing has been spoiled for me, but I think the people that have seen it, unless you deliberately go out and read a review or something slips through, but people who have seen it seem very...
There was somebody after Force Awakens, 30 minutes after the premiere, who tweeted, Han Solo dies. That guy...
That's my hero right there. I was the guy...
You would do that shit.
I told you my story.
As a younger man, you would do that shit.
So, quick story. I think I've told this before.
Yeah, and then we got it, yeah.
Harry Potter the Half-Blood Prince came out on a Saturday. It arrived at my house Saturday morning. I read the entire book in about 4 hours. And then I went out to a bar that night with some friends. And they had those little, those little postcards they have while you're waiting for the bathroom at restaurants.
Yeah.
So a bunch for Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. So I took about 5 and I wrote Snape kills Dumbledore on the back of about 5 of them, and I put them back.
An asshole.
Yeah, but an asshole from a distance.
So you're a cowardly asshole.
Yeah, the best kind.
So what's going on in the world of Will Shawn Podcast?
Once again, I want to thank everyone else from who may have found us through the Jukebox Podcast Network. We had Minimus Maximus on last time from Off the Cuff, so I hope you went ahead and subscribe to that podcast because it is all hashtag on brand. Want to congratulate some former guests of the podcast. Justin Marks, his show Counterpart on Starz, they debuted the premiere episode. This is J.K. Simmons, not J.K. Rowling, playing twins, and apparently the show is excellent, and it premieres in a few weeks, but Starz is really trying to get the word out there. So congratulations to Justin. And who else has stuff coming out? Jake Weissman and Matt Ingebretsen's new show, Corporate, on Comedy Central comes out next month. So as that gets closer, we'll talk a little bit more about that. So, success for everyone.
Yay.
Yay.
Everyone but us. Who's a sponsor this week?
The Association of Assholes who have already seen Star Wars Episode 8, The Last Jedi. We're sorry to have to say this, but we're just better than you. But to be fair, you already knew this.
Fuck these people. One more quick thing, and then we really got to introduce the guest. I was at a party.
Yeah?
Former guest of the show, Megan Hayes.
Yeah.
There was a surprise party for former guest of the show, Ravi. I don't remember his last name.
Something with a B.
Anyway.
Not Shankar. You totally want to say Shankar.
Anyway, what happened was there was a guy who's there, was at the premiere.
Yeah.
And Megan says, I just want to ask this one thing about the movie. In the film, and I screamed. And I didn't know a lot of these people. And I screamed. I said, what the fuck is wrong with you? I said, what's wrong? And it was like an anger scream.
Yeah.
Like and the party got quiet.
And that man was J.J. Abrams.
Yeah. And I screamed, and the guy was like, I wasn't going to say anything. And I was like, Megan, what? She's like, I just wanted to ask him this one question. I said, what's wrong with you? Go fuck yourself. I said, you ask a question. He doesn't even have to answer. You ask a question, I leave this party, I never come back.
Just when you said, what the fuck's wrong with you, all I could hear is Ray Liotta and Goodfellas was being like, Karen, what the fuck's wrong with you, Karen? On the show today, what the fuck's wrong with LA Weekly? They don't want to pay their writers. This is a trend that we all suffer from. We must discuss. Also, Quentin Tarantino wants to make a Star Trek film. Yeah.
I don't know about this, but I'm gonna. It started us thinking about other people, maybe outside the box choices to make some movies and some different genres and what have you. I'm really losing the thread there, but we will discuss.
The Phantom Thread.
And I like chocolate. You like chocolate. We all like chocolate. But you know what I don't like? Being manipulated into buying it. These little holiday charity sales. We will discuss. But first, we are very excited to have with us. She has this incredibly funny web series that you should all see on YouTube called Lady Pilot. It is the Lady Pilot herself, Laura McGhee.
Thank you for having me.
Hello.
It was a little longer introducing you because I went on some Star Wars rants, but I'm very worried.
I can understand.
Well, not about Roy Moore, just about Star Wars.
I'm just so excited they finally have a female pilot that I don't care what happens.
There you go.
It's true.
Well, let me ask you this. You made when I said Han Solo dying, you made a very, sad face.
I did, but it was a job opening at the same time, wasn't it?
That's true. Now she's got the Millennium Falcon, right? He's got the Millennium Falcon. Did you, because you are a pilot and you're also a comedian, comic actress, improv person, performer.
Lady performer?
No. I'm losing it today.
And I can't tell you how often I am referred to as Lady Pilot. It's yeah, not just a pilot.
Well, that's a running joke in the series. We'll get to that.
Yeah.
Were there, were you,
What came
as
first?
a kid?
Yes.
But I guess my big question is, as a kid, I said, Han Solo thing, I guess, were there, fictional pilots that you looked at and be like, oh, I want to fly the Millennium Falcon? Were you a person like that?
Oh, yeah. I never, ever dressed up or was in any way enamored of Princess Leia. For me, it was I'll be Chewbacca. If I can't, I'll first officer that shit if I can't be the captain.
Nice.
Yeah, the other little girls dreamed of walking down the aisle. I was like, I want to be an astronaut. I want to walk on the moon.
So, I always like to get the guest's origin story. Where are you from originally?
I'm from Canada, from Toronto.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. I'm actually from just north of Toronto, from the same town as Jim Carrey.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I used to drink underage at a bar where he did stand-up.
Oh.
Did you see him do stand-up?
But it was just Canadian underage, so really underage.
Yeah, so really underage. But back in the time where if you rocked high heels and a little bit of makeup and had the attitude.
Well, let me ask you that because you got into comedy, so sneaking into these bars and watching people do stand-up, was that kind of an early influence on you then?
It was an influence in that I realized there was no way I had enough courage to do that. That seemed far riskier than sketch or improv. I used to watch SCTV all the time. I was completely obsessed. And my dad was actually the accountant on the show for a little while.
Interesting.
And that's how I first saw my first Second City show. Is he had a client that was in the cast, and he said, "Do you want to go down and see the show?" And I saw it and went, this is a thing? People get paid to do this? Yeah. Yeah.
And then
He literally handled the funny money.
So did you go to did you go to school for this, or like what did you?
No, I had a completely different career. I had an honors BA in literature, in French literature. So I wrote my thesis on the use of misogynistic poetry.
How does one use it?
In Charles Baudelaire was my
Okay.
chief. Yeah, some prostitute gave him syphilis, and he was super bitter about
That's
it.
what the flower of evil was all
Les
about.
fleurs de mal.
Yeah.
So I
People made a career out of less.
oh yes, indeed. So I was working as an editor for a publishing company.
Yeah.
And then I saw a Second City show, and I started taking improv on the side, and I slowly transitioned out of that job into, I got into the company, into the touring company in Toronto. So I performed with the Toronto company for several years. And what I love about Second City is no matter where you go, there's one in Chicago for a while, there was one in Detroit and Cleveland. They basically employed me in one form or another for probably 20 years.
Oh, wow.
It's the best.
That's
and I
right.
work at the Hollywood Second City now.
City.
Is that because once you've
Yeah.
sort of gotten past a certain level or threshold where you've been accepted into a touring company, they already know that you have what it takes, so they can trust that the system has vetted you.
And there's a sensibility too to Second City people. It's one of the most fascinating things I've ever had happen was I was doing a tourist flight. This is how I started to build my flight hours as a pilot. And so I would take people up and fly them around the Hollywood sign and out to the Malibu coastline. And I had this woman on board. And sometimes, I would try to be entertaining, and people would ask, if I ever considered going into comedy. And I would say, that's crazy. Why would anyone do that? And a woman turned to me on a flight and said specifically, "Are you by any chance from Second City?" Which I thought was so surprising. And I said, "I am, and I have to ask you why you specifically asked me that." She said, "There's a quality, there's a sensibility that Second City people have." And it's really the first place I'd ever gone where I felt not a freak.
Gotcha.
So
Yeah.
did you? So is that what brought you then out here? The
Plane brought her out here.
well, we'll get to that. But is that what brought you out here then? The Second City, like there was opportunity in Hollywood here with it, or you just like I gotta go to Hollywood like the rest of us?
No, it was completely flight related. So I had done my private pilot license, which is essentially a recreational license back in Canada, and it's really hard to progress there because of winters and inclement weather. And so when I decided to go on and do my commercial license and my flight instructor certification, I decided to go somewhere where the weather was more conducive.
So you could just get
train.
more time up in the air, and you weren't shut down half the year.
And it was a little less expensive, honestly, to train here than in Canada, too. So I got a student visa, and I came here
smart.
and trained. And then I finished my training in February, and I couldn't go back to Canada.
You can't go back then.
You're like, F this.
Like I've gotten used to this weather.
So then I thought, and at that point, Second City, I sort of found them and reintegrated into that life too. And so I thought, well, perhaps I'll work on getting a green card. And I was very fortunate. I had a very good immigration attorney who was able to get me one as a writer. And I always love to tell people, Dan Castaneda, I believe, inadvertently was the tipping point for me.
Dan Castellaneta?
Yeah. Homer Simpson.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when your green card's in process, you cannot leave the country or it is vacated.
Right.
So I was stuck here for Christmas and I didn't know a soul. And this is another reason I love Second City people, because it's a wonderful community.
It's like a family.
It's very much like a family. And I was home alone, and I got a phone call from this lovely woman who'd been phoned by someone in Toronto and basically said, "Laura McGhee's all by herself. It's Christmas. It's sad.
It's sad.
Help her out."
It's hot and it's sad, and she's very confused.
Sad. She's confused. She's so polite. She's just sitting there apologizing to herself in her apartment. So this lovely woman, Deborah Thaker, phoned me and introduced herself and said, "I live really close to you, and I'm going to come get you and take you to my buddy Dan's place for Christmas dinner." And I said, "That's so kind. Is it okay with your buddy Dan?" I said, "Dan who?" And she went, "Dan Castaneda." And I went, "Homer Simpson?" And she went, yeah, we were in the Chicago company together." And I went, "Yeah, I can free up some time to go to
Let me
Dan.
just check my calendar.
And he and his wife were so lovely and so welcoming, and there were so many famous Second City people there. It was fascinating. And then, of course, because I was odd being a pilot, so he was dying to hear all about that. And about 10 minutes in, he says, I'm pretty sure Steven Spielberg's looking for a new pilot. He lives across the street. Let's just head over there. And at that point, I had about 200 hours in a single engine. They're not going to bother Steven Spielberg.
Yeah. But still.
But something to aspire to.
It was so lovely. And then in the interim, something in my petition had been red flagged. There had been a clerical error. So as part of the next stage, I had to write an affidavit updating them as to what I'd been up to in the interim. And so my immigration attorney said, just anyone that you've encountered, any experience. And so I said, well, I had Christmas dinner at Homer Simpson's house. So she said, yeah, write that. So I wrote this affidavit, and I remember specifically, I said, how much longer do you think this will take to process? Because at this point, it had been about a year. And she said, probably another 3 to 6 months. I'm like, okay, I can hang in there. And so I specifically remember driving it to her office on a Thursday. She couriered it over on a Friday. It was stamped in on Monday. It was approved on Tuesday.
Yeah.
And I had the actual green card in my hand on the Thursday.
And that green card looks super cool, by the way.
It does.
Green cards are like space-age little pieces of plastic. They're very, very cool.
Yeah. And I really think it's processed through a field office in Lincoln, Nebraska. And I think, somebody was reading, Dan, Homer Simpson.
Yeah.
So I know that was the tipping point. I always say, Dan Castaneda, I owe you.
Whatever Homer Simpson says goes.
Yeah. Just to want to kind of for 1 second, Doug Jones won.
Really?
Yeah. Projected to win. They're all the
if you don't know what night we're recording this on,
Yes.
we're a night that apparently, unless...
you already know this, but it's very exciting right now.
But it's very exciting.
Yeah,
That's good.
My leg keeps buzzing because every news service is pushing it through. So,
pedophilia loses in America. Thank God.
Now I can stay.
Well, I was going to have you fly us out of here. So, what came first then? The love of comedy or the love of flying? It sounds like maybe the love of...
Oh, no, definitely comedy.
Okay.
I used to skydive a little bit, but I'd never thought about flying.
about being the person that sends people to their doom.
But then you suddenly just said, like, I'm going to do this as a job? Like, this will be my day job while I pursue... Because the day job you have, it, to me, strikes me as a kind of
Different
a lot of people's... dream job in general. I'm just flying all the time.
As opposed to waitering or catering.
Yeah, like this is like, exactly.
Yeah. Well, I was always interested in flying, and my granddad was actually one of the flight engineers that worked on the Avro Arrow back in Canada many, many years ago. Everyone in my family is terrified to fly and hates it except for me, so I think I have that.
This is just an excuse to get away from them.
Yeah.
I am not, I will fly, but it does scare me.
Yeah.
It does scare me a little bit. Like, I'm not, like, crippled on a plane, like, but every time I get on a plane, I'm like, well, like, this
was a good run.
Like, it was a good run. Like, yeah.
I've only had two flights like that.
But, So
someone bought me a lesson for a birthday present one year back in Canada, and I really liked it. And it was at a point where I was getting a little bit frustrated as an actor and a writer, and I thought, well, I'm going to do something that's going to distract me and perhaps give me a nice little feeling of accomplishment. And I just got really, really excited about it. I got my private license, and then I was going to buy a small plane. And my stepdad, who's always loves to encourage, he came into the kitchen one day and said, I just read this article where only 5% of pilots are women. Do you think that's right, Laura? That doesn't seem right. And I went, yeah, okay, I'm going to get my commercial license. So part of it's kind of a desire to represent a little bit.
Well, I was kind of going to ask you, I'll kind of skip to that since we're on the topic, because is there a prejudice or stereotype against lady pilots?
Do you have 3 more hours? Yeah. No, I know that. Yeah. It's unbelievable.
Because I struggle to think, because whenever I do fly, when they're like, oh, this is a guy, it's always some guy.
Even the female pilots still sound like Chuck Yeager for some reason.
It's out of necessity for survival.
But
I've had people refuse to fly with me because I'm female. Yeah. Yeah.
Like, they said it flat out?
Yeah.
That's fucked
Is
up.
this because most pilots learn in the military and it kind of filters out from there? Or?
No, I think it's that people just don't see women doing the job and they never think about it.
No, but I'm saying why are there so many male pilots Like, where does the training come from? Not why do people like not trust
I
female
think
pilots?
women don't do it because they don't see other women doing it, so it never occurs to them that they could do it as an occupation.
Well, this actually then is also got to be a fun byproduct of your show then too. Let's talk about. Let's get into Lady Pilot. I want to have you plug some other improv stuff, but let's get into Lady Pilot here because that's really why you're here. And is that one of the things that inspired it? Like, one, this is what you do, but two, I can be funny and also show other people like. I mean, it's called Lady Pilot.
And honestly, that's the thing I hate being called the most. And it's based on an exchange I had with a customs officer coming in to study. And I would always deliberately try to line up in front of younger customs officers because they would be a little bit more understanding about female pilots. And I got this one old codger coming in one day, and I gave him all my paperwork, and he said, why are you going into the States? And I said, for flight training. And he said, so you're a flight attendant? And I said, no, I'm a pilot. And he said, so you train other flight attendants? And I said, no, I'm a pilot. And he said, so you're a lady pilot? And I said, no, on those 2 days of the month when my hormones aren't raging out of control and I'm not sobbing, or, I can manage to get the thing on the ground without killing people. And he went, go in that room over there, which was secondary screening. And I missed my flight.
Oh man! But that's so. But I feel like with this, you're kind of taking a name back. Like you're taking like that kind of like weird insult, or what he meant to be a weird insult.
You're empowering it.
But yes, and it's fun.
Yeah.
So in the show, it's all about you training people to fly.
And that's how I chose. There's a limited number of ways pilots can build their hours to the point where they can get real commercial jobs. And becoming a flight instructor is one of the ways to do it. So that's how I chose to build my hours. And it's also great experience because people try to kill you every day in different ways.
Now, there's some wacky characters.
Well, every episode, there's about 12 episodes out so far, and each one focuses primarily on one encounter with a couple or an individual or just some other. And I can imagine these are all drawn directly from real life experiences.
I can't even take any credit really for the writing because it's just factual. It's more documentary than anything else.
Even the cowboy?
Even the cowboy.
Oh, okay. I like that cowboy. You like that cowboy.
It's interesting because men sometimes really will be so flustered because they're not expecting their pilot or their flight instructor to be a woman. In fact, the last person I taught, the guy came in and said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm running a little bit late. Could you let the flight instructor know I'm here and I'd love a coffee?" And I went, "Hi, I'm the flight instructor." And he went, "No, seriously, where is he?" And I went, "It's me, the small blonde woman. Get in the plane." And he adjusted, but it took a...
Well, you have that one episode where the guy comes in as, total misogynist, and as you're walking down to the plane, he just quizzing you one question after another.
Real experience. So generally men... I'm really lucky. Sometimes I'll get someone, I call them, who acts normally. But generally they'll either try to alpha male me or they'll flirt with me, which are both equally horrific in confined quarters in the plane. So the midday cowboy gentleman... was just flirting horrifically the whole flight and ended up asking me out in front of my spouse. And he knew it was my spouse and didn't care.
Really? Wow, that's a brazen cowboy.
Brazen cowboy.
Dude, so a lot of these people, like I said, there's like some old army, there's like all these people, the characters that they're based on, like, okay, let's use the cowboy as an example. I mean, did he come back for another flight? Like, are these people that you have flown with many times, and now they're seeing this web series and being like, that guy seems awfully familiar.
A few of them are repeat customers, but honestly, through the years, I love character work, and a lot of my one-woman shows I've done are a series of characters, and they're always based on people I know, and people never recognize themselves. I've never once had someone... My favorite character I used to do back in Toronto was based on a really high-strung emotional yoga instructor I had that would yell at you for doing the poses incorrectly and would use the yoga classes as a forum to complain about all the shitty things that were going on in her life and her cheating boyfriend. And so I did her as a character because it was fantastic. And I looked down one night and she was at one of my shows and I thought, oh, this is going to be so horrible. I feel so badly. And after this show, she came up to me and said, I love that yoga character. She goes, I totally know people like that.
I'm sure you do.
Yeah.
What about the little kid? Did you train a little kid?
That was based on a young man. The youngest person I've ever flown with was a 6-year-old. And
Wait. And the wait a second.
we both sat on pillows. I'm not very tall.
The 6-year-old was flying the plane?
A little bit. I did a lot of the work, but I flew with him.
I hope so.
I flew with him in Santa Monica. And this is why I sometimes have to be careful because I can be irreverent in places where I shouldn't be. There's an observation deck in Santa Monica that you taxi past. And so it was really crowded that day because it was a lovely day. So as we taxied past, I scooched down in the seat so it looked like he was in the plane by himself.
That's amazing. He's just like, why don't you wave to the people?
Great.
I like the I don't know, the like Instagram model that shows up with her entourage, and she gets in the plane, and the first thing she wants to know is if she can fly her friends to Catalina next weekend.
That was a repeat customer.
Okay.
And I finally chuffed her off onto someone else because I couldn't take it anymore. She would never listen, and so we'd be veering off towards the foothills, so I'd have to grab control of the plane and would always try to adjust her seat by pulling back on the yoke, which of course would stall the airplane. So she would stall the airplane all the time. And there was always, it was always never about, and I always get excited when I get a female client because there's not very many women that are interested. And everything was about how sexy she was going to look in the plane, how hot female pilots were. Like, she had no interest in learning to fly at all. She just wanted to look hot in the plane, which killed my soul a little bit.
Now let's talk about the plane, because obviously you're filming this, but you're not going up in the air with these people. You're filming this all on the
We're
ground.
filming it on the ground in a hangar or in front of a hangar with a green screen behind us. And then generally what we do is the director and I, Robert Blankenheim, who's fantastic.
Former guest of the show.
Crazy talented. We'll go up together and he'll hold the camera and I'll do whatever flying we need to do so he can get the exterior shots.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
he's getting those. Okay, interesting.
And every once in a while he'll use stock footage, but it's really a great visceral experience for us for him just to film. Like, there was an episode where I had to do a flight review with the
bloody surgeon.
With the bloody surgeon that was based completely on a real fellow. And one of the things you have to review is what happens if you have an engine failure, and that's called a forced landing. So you have to find a field or a place to set up to land and do an SOS call and all this other stuff. And so he lined himself up to land on the 101 during rush hour. And he did literally say, "Don't worry, they'll move." I'm a neurosurgeon. So we went out and it was great. I got to sort of get down to a couple hundred feet above the 101 so that Bob could film and make it look like we were really
At what
heading
point, when
towards
you're
it.
knowing Bob, at some point you know he's going to be like, listen, I'm just going to hang on to the wing. It'll be fine. I designed a harness. I'm going to be just slow it down. As long as you stay below 100, I could just like...
I just built this harness that I
He's
could
going to have
hang
a
on
seat on top of the plane that he's just going to have a camera.
Yeah, because he would be total like Howard Hughes filming
Hell's Angels.
Yeah. He'd be totally like, wow, we're just gonna go. He would do that.
Or some rig where the camera can actually dangle below the plane while you're flying.
No, he's really a good sport because we've done a couple flights where I've had to do fairly interesting maneuvers in order to make it look real on camera. We did one, I had to do a spiral dive for one.
Oh, was that with the aerialist?
Yeah. And then another one, I had a flight where the two gentlemen that didn't want to fly with me were basically bullied into going, and they weren't being very nice to me. And one of them asked a question about what 0 Gs were, if I could explain 0 Gs. And I said, well, I could tell you, or I could show you. Do you want me to show you? And they weren't wearing their seatbelts tight enough, even though I told them to. And so I just pushed forward on the yoke as hard as I could, and they happened.
Now, let me ask you. So you're filming this in a plane. You're filming this on I assume where you work. do your colleagues be like, what's Laura doing? Like, what's going on with the green screen and the cameras? Like, are they questioning like that you're moonlighting as, making films at their place of business?
No, in fact, they're incredibly supportive. There's a lovely organization, a company called Baymark Aviation that are always really helpful to help me find planes I can use. And we film in their offices sometimes. And I use their planes as a freelance instructor as well, and sometimes do commercial work for them. Aviation is a really interesting industry because it's very polarized with respect to personalities. There are some of the best people I've met in my life and some of the worst people and nothing in between.
Sounds like Hollywood.
Very much so. I know the two industries are very comparable. And these are some of the best people. These are people that got into the industry for the right reason because they love flying and they love the adventure. It's not a status thing.
Yeah.
It's not a money thing. It's not an ego thing.
We're looking at you, Harrison Ford, Nicolas Cage, and John Travolta.
It's always fun to watch celebrities talk about flying.
John Denver. Oh.
Though I will say I've had Flea cut me off a few times on the taxiway.
Really?
He's learning to fly. He's very sweet.
I'm not going to ask about the Tom Petty song.
Every creative artist deserves their conduit.
Now, all these crazy characters you have on the show, are these people you've taken from, like, Second City, from the classes there? Like, all these actors?
Most of them are people I've taught, so they're my students or colleagues, which I love. And it's great because they get something for their reel, which I love. And the deal is, if they would like, after we're finished filming, I always offer a flight. They get to come up. And a few of them have taken me up on it.
I was going to say.
Yeah. And then there's one gentleman, Kevin, who's amazing, who's been in two. And I met him through a mutual friend, and he's played the older gentleman with the Viagra. Which was based on a real flight and a real story. And, of course, the Vietnam vet.
Yeah,
that guy's great. Colonel
based
Saunders.
on a
That
real
guy's great.
Colonel Saunders, it was based on a real gentleman who's a flight examiner. I've had him on 3 flight exams, and who did my. When you become a flight instructor, you have to do a little bit of acrobatic training. You have to do spin training. So he did my spin training, and it was very much not the warm and fuzzy. There's no crying in aviation.
Now, are there, because you made 12 of these, are there plans for more in the very near future? Or?
I hope so. I have new experiences every week, and I'm almost to the point where, if something untoward happens, I'm rubbing my hands together in glee instead of getting frustrated.
That's good just for the story, yeah. Well, that's another good. You found a way to make the annoying things about your job put a positive spin.
Do you find now that you egg people on because you just want to scratch them to see if you can get a little bit more out of the craziness?
It's so odd. I don't even need an iota of encouragement. It's as I said, aviation is very analogous sometimes to the entertainment industry.
Yeah.
It attracts characters.
Okay.
It really, really does.
So where can the people find Lady Pilot?
So I have this fantastic website that, again, a former student of mine who hosts an improv show with me named Justice Wainwright. He is a brilliant web designer, and he did this amazing website for me. So it's www.ladypilot.com, and all the episodes are on there, along with a whole bunch of information about how I became a pilot.
If you want to book a lesson.
And I always love that. Especially, I'm always try to encourage other women to do this. And my deal is always, if you got a daughter and she would like to go for a flight, pay for the plane and I will take you up.
Ladypilot.com. Watch the show. If you're a good listener to the podcast, you've already watched it because we have a link to it up on our Facebook page.
Oh, how lovely. Thank you.
Are you on Twitter at all?
I am on Twitter and on Facebook. Absolutely.
What's your Twitter handle?
It is...
Is it Lady Pilot?
It's Laura McGhee.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Just spell it for the people.
So Laura is your traditional Laura, and McGhee is McGhee.
And that's at Laura McGhee.
Yes.
And I know you also do improv shows here. We didn't really get time to delve into it really, but real fast, tell us any regular shows you're doing.
So I also teach improv at the Second City in Hollywood here, which I absolutely adore. It feeds my soul. And I started a student participation show called Historical Improv Theater that we do once a month. And each show takes place in a different year in history. Mm-hmm. And if you want to participate, you come put your name in a hat and we draw your name out and you come on up and improvise with our ensemble cast. Our last show was Ancient Greece, 323 BC.
You're Alexander the Great time.
Sean's favorite year.
Yes.
It's a good one. It's a solid year.
Which of his generals killed Alexander the Great? And it's just a blast. We do it once a month, and you can look up Hit Show on Facebook or on the Second City website here. They always have information about it. And I love it. I'm so incredibly spoiled that I get to have two careers that I enjoy. And it gets a little bit crazy sometimes, and I'm really tired all the time. But I'm incredibly fortunate.
Excellent.
That's awesome.
Okay. Speaking of people who aren't fortunate, LA Weekly, the popular Los Angeles publication, popular because you could just pick it up anywhere.
It's free.
It's free.
Yeah.
They let go just about all of their staff and decided to do this crazy thing of putting out an ad saying, you want to write for free?
Well, you got to explain why they did this.
You want to explain why they did this?
Yes, so the LA Weekly got purchased by some mysterious unnamed consortium, which, to the best of...
from Orange County.
From Orange County, and Orange County down here in Southern California is very right-wing, very conservative. And some consortium from Orange County purchased LA Weekly and basically laid everyone off and is trying to refashion the paper. And this is a huge tragedy for LA, because LA Weekly, most cities have like the comparative... there's OC Weekly. Most cities have their weekly print, in
publication. New York, when I lived in New York, the Village Voice.
Which also apparently is on the chopping block.
Yeah.
So, and this is where you'd get, there's interviews, there's stuff that's going on, there's articles, there's restaurant reviews. There was just really great reporting that went in there. And then you would have all the pages of every concert coming up in town, followed by advertisements for ladies with 1-900 numbers that you can call. At least that was back in the day. When I was in college, a girl that I knew and whom I had this huge, unrequited crush on, her father was
she's gonna know now.
Nah, it's been years. I think her father was either the editor-in-chief or the managing editor of LA Weekly at the time. So I remember it all of a sudden took a big status jump in my mental life at that point because I associated with her.
Was there a similar publication in Toronto that you...
Yes, very much so. It was called Now magazine, and I believe it still exists. And it was a very reputable paper, very well respected, paid their writers, which was kind of nice. And I can't imagine that happening in Toronto and being condoned.
Oh, yeah, and they had a great website. It was a really great free publication.
Village Voice in New York, that was for me, and they had great film reviews. In fact, the Amy Talbin, one of the film critics of Village Voice, she was one of my film teachers too. I took a couple of classes of hers, and they were just really smart people. And it seems like same thing with LA Weekly. And now they posted this. They put up an ad that it was almost like how exciting you can work for free.
We've talked about this with Huffington Post.
Yeah. That's basic. Yeah, and I have an issue with the Huffington Post too. I have a big issue with them because their pockets are deep enough that they could be paying some of these people to write. It's like this. Oh, you could have the privilege to have this. Writing is hard. I mean, we all know that writing is hard, and it's work that deserves to be paid for. Well, there's been a backlash. A lot of advertisers have pulled out, and a lot of frequent columnists, like famous people like Henry Rollins, said they're no longer going to write for the publication.
Well, you know what's going to happen? And flash forward a year from now, it's just not going to exist anymore. And this was probably what they intended all along, was just to get rid of this popular left-leaning publication and just starve it out, and that's it. And it's gone.
Are you concerned that there's so many people desperate for the opportunity here that they actually will be able to find people?
No, but if the advertisers pull out, that's the issue. If the advertisers just say, screw this.
Well, now that's the thing that worries me, and that's the thing where I also kind of see too. Because I've done a lot of writing for free, but mostly for people who couldn't afford,
they're trying to build something.
Yeah, they're trying to build something, and that's different. But then for a while, I was doing shows for this thing after Buzz, who not only didn't pay me to host shows for them, and didn't pay anybody to host the shows, but they also tried to prevent me from taking paid jobs,
No.
hosting things other places. They had to make me choose. And even though I liked the stuff I was doing for them more, I had to choose the people who were
You
paying.
enjoyed eating and having
Yeah.
a roof over your head.
Ironically, then the show I had on that other network got canceled, and I had no show. But the point is, I saw the way they did it. It was almost like, oh, you're new to town, you want to get into hosting? Like, oh, well, you'll learn here and you'll build your resume, which is
That's how they turn girls into
I was
prostitutes.
gonna say, it's like the guy that pulls up at the bus station in the Cadillac asking if you're hungry.
deuce.
Would
it's
you like
the
a
same-
hamburger?
It's the same thing. But what you said is true. There are probably enough people who are like, well, it would be great to have an article in LA Weekly. And there are probably even really talented people who are like, I just got to get my stuff out there. That I'm torn about the people who try to submit their work, because on one hand, I get it, you got to get your work out there, but on the other hand, it's like we all have to stand together to make sure this doesn't happen. Is there any solution to this? I mean, what do you think? Is there?
Well, and it's interesting. It's not unique to even the entertainment industry. One of the huge issues we had in aviation a few years ago was that companies were compelling pilots to pay for their own jet ratings, which were $30,000 to $40,000 before they would hire them. And then pilots banded together and said, "No, collectively, we're not doing that. This is your responsibility as an employer to train us."
Yeah.
But some pilots would just want the job so badly that they would take out loans at exorbitant interest rates or borrow the money. So it became a very analogous situation where does taking advantage of opportunity or exploitation become resolved?
It's like when people trying to break unions and
Yeah.
stuff.
It's really hard when you're desperate and you need work, But you also understand from the other side, if you don't have that solidarity, then it doesn't get better for any of us.
So, Sean, how many pieces have you submitted to LA Weekly?
He's doing
I'm
one
literally
right
sitting
now.
there
He
right
just submitted
now.
one.
If I'm writing an article about it, please. I'd submit to Huffington Post before. At least I get more exposure on Huffington Post.
Yeah, you got nationwide exposure. It's
True.
I just write shit in chalk on the sidewalk. That's pretty much my only forum.
Sean, is there... Are we hitting a point, though, and again, maybe I live in a little Twitter bubble that people are more outraged about stuff like this, but are we getting to a point where more and more people are saying, no, you have to pay me for my work?
You know what? This is how I think about this. Part of it is that it's an ecosystem. So the LA Weekly gets co-opted, gets, killed. Some other entrepreneur, some other ambitious entrepreneurial left-wing voice is going to get something else will come along, and there will be something new, and they will pay writers, and it'll build up a following. Think of something like Vox.com. Didn't even exist like 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Think of the way Slate has grown into this this huge thing. Crooked Media is the latest example. I think so maybe LA Weekly as a print publication isn't going to exist anymore, but I really do believe that it has created enough backlash and anger that enough people with enough resources and some talent will be like, no, we can do our own thing, and okay, we'll pay writers, and there's all these refugees now from LA Weekly, and that's nature finds a way,
Especially in the present climate.
Yeah,
People are tired
people
of getting
motivated.
pushed around.
Yeah, and they see this, they go, okay,
Yeah.
this was just a bullshit move. You know what? Why don't we? There's going to be a backlash, and something cool and interesting could come out of this. Who knows? Maybe some other publication will say, well, let's take in some of these writers that were regular contributors and let's expand our own site and give it a different spin or add a different aspect to it. So, that's how I think about it. So, yes, I'm sad, but something new can come out of the ashes, which is basically the plot or the motivation for every supervillain in every movie ever. You must destroy in order to bring about new life.
Perhaps the LA Phoenix.
Yeah.
the LA Phoenix. We're starting it right now. This
Don't
is
tell the people.
the three of us, the founding editors.
I'm
of the
telling you
LA
right now, I'll do it for free.
The Lady Pilot column. View from up here.
Quentin Tarantino.
Yes.
He has. We've been hearing a lot about this Manson movie he's been working
Which
on.
he keeps weirdly backpedaling on a little bit. He's like,
Well, let me
it's
tell you
not
what.
a Manson movie, but there are Manson people in it.
I never thought for a second it was. I thought it was going to be. I'm assuming that his Manson movie is going to be like as much as like Inglourious Bastards was about the bastards. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, but
So it's Charles Manson, but they went to Disneyland instead of up to the hills.
yeah,
idea.
yeah.
And they were hiding out in the Magic Castle.
Right.
having orgies and
Much
doing
happier
peyote.
ending.
But somehow in between all this, he pitched an idea for a Star Trek movie. Not just a Star Trek movie that he insists must be rated R.
Yeah.
And
For Romulan.
But it also doesn't sound like he's writing it. But I heard talks that he might direct it. This is very confusing, especially for a guy who says, I'm only going to make 2 more movies and then retire.
That's the thing.
Is Star Trek going to be his last?
Well, I think his bullshit, I think his hedge on this is, no, I'm going to make 10 Quentin Tarantino movies, but if someone else writes it, that doesn't count towards the 10. So, he basically got the words Star Trek half out of his mouth, and J.J. Abrams was like, that's it, we got a writer's room, ready to go. Where's Simon Kinberg? Let's go.
Well, I've got a couple of thoughts on this. Well, one, if that's the way he said his bet, he's going to make movies for the rest of his life. Because he's just going to go to Marvel and be like, I got this great idea for another Ant-Man film.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, Quentin's going to... But I'm not going to write it. I'll direct it. Yeah. He's going to direct everything in everything then.
Is this going to be his cop-out, like when Kevin Smith decided to make someone else's film?
Well, here's my issue.
But you love Star Trek.
I love Star Trek, and I love Tarantino.
Yeah?
Would you love to see Samuel L. Jackson have his rant in space?
And find out that Klingons are actually,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I must admit, I'd be kind of intrigued to see that.
I mean, but here's my thing. If there's ever a franchise, to me, that doesn't call for an R-rated film, it's Star Trek. Because Star Trek, I mean, everyone's very like...
It's utopian.
Yeah, it's very utopian, and although I don't think there's anything wrong or un-utopian about throwing a fuck around here or there, but it just feels off. Like, it feels like, I mean, could you imagine Kirk calling people motherfuckers? Like, it doesn't make any sense. And all the way, is it gonna be like... Is it going to be Kirk and Spock, or is it going to be like some other, just in the Star Trek universe?
No one knows anything.
Well, in my heart, I would hope it's because it's going to have expressly explicit sexual scenes and not extreme violence.
But Tarantino doesn't do, he doesn't really do, explicit sex scenes.
No, so it is going to be violent.
So it's going to be violence and, space
A
N-words.
Romulan bloodbath.
I'm trying to think, he's going to come up with some slur for Klingons.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of sex scenes in Tarantino films.
There's sexiness, but I don't even think has he even done a boob?
No, there's been some sodomy, but that's pretty much as far as things go.
The most, yes.
There hasn't even been a boob.
Sex scene in a Tarantino film is Marcellus Wallace getting
and a
raped.
ball
Is there
gag.
anything in Death Proof? Death Proof is sexy, but it's not like...
There's a sexy dance in it,
Yeah.
but nobody actually has sex.
He's never even... he doesn't do nudity.
There's a really weird, brief sex scene between Bridget Fonda and Robert De Niro.
That's true, yeah.
Right,
But
in the
it's
mall
like-
parking lot.
Yeah.
It's played for like a joke,
Yeah.
a really fast joke.
Right before she gets killed.
Yeah, and
So there's going to be no space sex. It's going to be space violence. It's just going to be buckets of green blood.
Yes.
there will be a lot of green blood.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
I can't wait to find out what kind of funky music they listen to in the 24th century.
Now, I don't know. Look, I'm going to see this, obviously. I don't know if this is going to do. My immediate thoughts is what the universe he should be directing a film in. Is I think Tarantino would be perfect
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
for the gritty, R-rated Star Wars Boba Fett movie.
That's never going to happen because Disney's got to protect the IP.
That's what's fucked up about Disney.
Yeah.
That they will never make an R-rated Star. And that's what's fucked up about this Fox-Disney merger that might happen, because we would have never gotten a Deadpool or a Logan if these things were under Disney.
Oh, I'd love to even see like a Jabba the Hutt Tarantino.
That's what because Tarantino would do like Boba Fett, a Western on Tatooine,
never
and
gonna
there'd be
happen.
huts, and they'd be going back into Mos Eisley.
Think
and
what he could do in that cantina.
exactly. I mean, that's
It's going to be like the Kill Bill Volume 1.
Sean, is there any?
All of a sudden, the Mos Eisley Cantina band is going to be a bunch of barefoot Japanese women.
Are there any?
I'm trying to think like what cinematic universe I'd want to see him fuck around in.
Or is it even him? Is there like, would you want to see like, Wes Anderson make a James Bond movie? That would be the stupidest thing ever. But it's just
No, you know what?
popped into my
I think
head.
Tarantino.
So much
I would much rather see,
before he fired.
No, you know what? I would much rather see Tarantino make a James Bond movie
Oh, that would be
because he
interesting.
could completely blow the formula up.
He'd make it more exploitive feel.
Yes.
Yeah.
70s exploitation.
I'd like to see him make a James Bond movie. I'm trying to think like what director do I want seeing? Not P.T. Anderson. Wes Anderson making anything pretty much could be interesting.
Isn't David Fincher doing the new World War Z movie?
Is he? I don't know with him. He seems to be attached to a lot of things.
That's interesting. Like the idea of someone like him doing such like kind of more of a genre film. Like,
I think Bryan Singer's available.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
How about
He's gonna make the remake to Call Me by Your Name.
Laura?
Call me by my name.
Call Me by My Name.
Laura, you got any people you'd like to see make?
I love Paul Thomas Anderson.
Yeah.
I think he's so undervalued. Everything he does, I'm just completely enamored
But
of.
he also does his own little like weird he's too idiosyncratic.
Yeah, very much so.
In like his storytelling choices.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like he can make a Paul Thomas Anderson film.
Yes.
See, now after seeing Mother, I'm curious to like throw Darren Aronofsky at one of these franchises.
Have him direct
He was
a
supposed to
Marvel
do
movie.
he was supposed to do the Batman originally.
That's right.
He was attached that like
Right.
Yeah. What other franchises are there really that we care about? Pitch Perfect. I want to see Tarantino do a Pitch Perfect movie. That's what I want. Pitch Perfect 4, a QT film.
I love that.
Yes. By the way, I didn't see Pitch Perfect 3 showing up on any freaking lists yet. I'm very upset. And no Golden Globes love.
Is that going to be your Christmas movie?
What else am I going to see?
Will you have already seen it? Will you see it opening night?
Yeah. Come on.
So then on Christmas Day you can go see like The Post or something.
Okay, yeah. No, I feel like all these movies still open a little early in LA, don't they?
They do.
Not
the big
The Post.
ones are now.
I'm sorry, we haven't all seen The Post.
I've seen The
Yeah,
Post.
I know you've seen The Post.
It's not. Like
I have to be
seeing
careful.
Star
I'm not
Wars
allowed to
anymore.
go see any movies that involve flying because I can't keep my big mouth shut in the theater. So
Really?
I'm
Do you?
So you didn't see Dunkirk?
I don't. My spouse will go by himself because I'll promise to be quiet for this
So
one.
you haven't seen Flight?
I did. That was the breaking point because I was about 5 minutes in before I started and he was spouting, "This would never happen."
So you will never showed up hungover down Atlantic Coast going, I'm going to roll the plane. I'm gonna roll the plane.
Sure, but I didn't complete the role. It wasn't quite as.
How about Snakes on a Plane? You ever see that?
Oh, I love that. Would be like a good case scenario for me compared to some of the people I've flown with. I will say one of the most satisfying flights I've ever done. I got to fly a skydiving plane last summer, and it was incredibly satisfying to open the door at 11,000 feet and tell everyone to get the hell out.
One last thing, and just keep it short. Is flying a plane like, when you get into your friend's car or rental car and you get in, you're like, fuck, it's like, it's a car, but it's like different, and I don't know where everything is, and the mirrors and the chairs. Is it like that with a plane?
It is sometimes. I mean, certain models are the same from model to model, but
Yeah.
every plane has its idiosyncrasies.
Yeah.
So there are those times where you'll hop in and
You're like,
you're
fuck.
looking for something and you can see the person go, "Have you flown this before?" And you're like, "Oh yeah,
Yeah.
no, I've totally."
I don't know if this is a really stupid question. I guess I could have asked Bob this before, but are there keys to a plane? Are there keys?
Some planes are keys and some are push to start. I've flown
Okay.
both. Yeah. And once you get to jets, they're push and then it spools up. The engines spool up.
Okay.
Yeah.
So anyone can literally just hijack a jet.
You have to get in if the door is not locked.
Yeah, that's
No, but I mean, if I got into a jet, not like with a full of passengers, but like in the airport, and I just like got into a jet on the tarmac.
No, because you have to be able to spool up the engine, and there's a certain protocol. There's a checklist to follow, so it's not just pressing a button and then you go.
Okay.
Yeah. And I love, when people refer to pilots as just bus drivers in the sky because they think you just put it on autopilot.
Right.
And my favorite comment I've ever had from a flight student was, "It must be awesome to just sit there and get paid for that while I fly the plane." And I went, "Yeah, that's exactly." And then pooch the landing 10 seconds later, and I had to grab control of the plane. I'm like, "Yeah, that's pretty much what."
Jeez.
So, Will, tell us about the season.
Yeah, do you like chocolate?
I would kill small children and the elderly for chocolate.
Well,
But not a middle-aged white man.
I just kill him for fun.
well, look. Much like every normal human being, I like chocolate. Everyone likes chocolate. But you know what I don't need to do is buy a bunch of overpriced chocolate. And this time of year, there's chocolate everywhere. Why do you need to buy any chocolate? You go to your office, there's fucking chocolate. The walls are dripping with chocolate. And it's giving me a stomachache. So I thought when a coworker sent out an email asking if we'd buy C's candy chocolate bars, one for $3 or two for $5 to help raise money to build a playground at her son's school, I said no. Like most normal people, I ignored this email. But then, this coworker pulled a fast one. She brought in her adorable child to walk around cubicle to cubicle selling these chocolate bars. And this kid, it wasn't like the kid could barely talk. He was like, chocolate. Like, he was adorable. And once this child looked up at me like, extending the chocolate bar, $3 for two, one with this deal where I could get two for $5, and I noticed I only had a $5 bill in my wallet. I can't ask this little kid for change. I was forced to buy 2 chocolate bars, which I proceeded to eat immediately. And here's the thing. Don't appreciate these people pimping out their kids to guilt me into buying candy, particularly at this time of year when we have to deal with it all over, where we are confronted with the Salvation Army guy and the Santa at the mall, and they're ringing a bell, and I'm searching my pockets for loose change, all the loose change that I use to do my laundry. I gotta put it and give it to these Salvation Army people, and I'll be honest with you, I don't know what the fuck the Salvation Army does. Are they even a real army? Would they fight? Do they fight? Do they have to go to war? Is Trump sending them to North Korea? I don't know who I am giving this money to. And you feel guilty because you've just been in Macy's buying, I needed to buy these socks. It's like, oh, you could afford socks. You know who can't afford socks? Everyone else. You need to give us all your money so the homeless people can have socks. And I want to give the homeless people socks, but I don't want to be guilted in by Santa Claus or little kids giving chocolate bars. And that's why you, charity guilt trippers of this week's Enemy of the Podcast, go fuck yourself. I don't make enough to cover all this guilt. I'm not made of money. Laura, what do I do about this? Because I want to be giving, but I also want to tell these people to go fuck themselves.
You want to give on your own terms instead of...
Exactly.
Yes. And the people do use children to manipulate. Very, very much so.
Yeah,
I think the solution is you just have to be an asshole and be okay with it.
See, if this kid was smart.
Embrace your inner asshole.
This is what I would do if this is my kid.
Yeah.
I'm not fucking around with, do you have a $5 bill? And then a little square card reader on the iPhone, and we're taking credit cards.
That's right.
Oh, you don't have any cash? Don't worry, we take credit. And he's just swiping like a maniac.
Struggle with tears as he tries to make change and figure out the math.
No,
of
the
it
kid's
all,
the kid's wired. He's 21st century. He's getting lifetime sales updates.
that kid's better at this than I would be.
Yeah. Salvation Army also. They should just have an app that makes the jingling sound, and then you can just swipe your card.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Wait,
one day, 5 years from now, they're going to just be like,
I was going to say, they might already have that for all we know.
But yeah, I hear
hard,
you on
isn't
this.
it? Because you hear about how these executives that work for these companies have multi-million-dollar salaries.
Yeah.
And as you said, got your $5 that you're going to use for laundry.
That's what you get for shopping at Macy's. You know where Salvation Army's not hanging out? Outside of Neiman Marcus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They chase them away from there.
They're not bugging those Bergdorf people. You know, they're
I go to Ross all the time unfettered. Yes.
Yeah. So they get you.
So what? How do you deal with this, Sean?
I have as some people may know, I work in a small office with 2 exceedingly dotty baby boomers, so they are not bringing anyone around to talk me for money. I make my donations. I always do this. If someone is very insistent, or every time you go to Trader Joe's, you got to do the runaround. You got to scope out where's the ASPCA guy, where's the LGBT guy or woman. So you got to kind of navigate through that.
I blew past an ASPCA
because you hate animals
today.
I'll always do this. You know what? This sounds great. I'm planning to figure out all my donations in the coming week. If you could just give me something so I can look at it later. That's a strategy I learned from my parents. You always ask for the takeaway, and I say, you know what, I'm not yet ready. I'm going to be making all my donations in the coming week. If you could please leave me with something or mail me something when they get you on the phone.
I got into a fight with some guy from. It wasn't Amnesty International. It was from
The Peace Corps.
What's something like that? It's not.
American Civil ACLU.
No, not the ACLU. I
Teach
have
for
no problem with
America.
it. But it's something like that.
Okay.
Oh my God.
Negro College Fund.
No, I don't know. He was going on about Edward Snowden.
Oh.
And he pissed me off. And I said, well, give me some information. He goes, no. He's like, you should give a donation now. I said, go fuck yourself. Like, he was being like, I was just standing there minding my own business. He was needling me. And he was like, you don't care about this? You don't care about this? I said, well, now why would I ever give you anything?
See, I've perfected also the headphones in, no eye contact, twisted body language, turned a little away from them because I kind of see them, situational awareness. You see them coming.
Canadian way.
Yeah.
I always mumble apologetically, I'm not a citizen. I'm not a citizen.
I'm not from here.
I once walked out of a store with a DVD.
Yeah.
And the person from Greenpeace was like, well, you have money to buy that, but you don't have money to do. And I thought that was, and it was like, well, fuck you.
Say, no, I bought this for a Secret Santa. Or Toys for Tots.
But that bothers me because it's
why
like,
you be
don't
buying tot salons
criticize
as wiener dogs for a toy for tots is weird, though. When they go, you like, oh, you must have had money to buy that. Yes, sir. My father gave me $20 so I could have a little something nice on this holiday.
Antagonizing is never going to make you feel more charitable.
Antagonizing, you make me feel guilty unless I guess you're a little kid with chocolate.
Or, hold on, they'd been a cute woman.
Cute girl?
Yes.
No.
I got yelled at for using the word.
That wouldn't.
No, not the child. Like if it was like if the Amnesty International had been like, you know, like some Vassar student here for winter break.
No. I
sure?
might have fooled myself into talking to her a little bit longer, but I wouldn't.
But there's a limit to the feminine
given
wiles.
her money. I've never given any woman money because she was attractive. I'm willing to bet.
You heard it here first, folks.
Which is the definition of prostitution. Good for you. Good for you.
She's paying for her companionship. It's just dinner. I love that.
Well, you know, it is the thing. The little kid, he was, you know, a little kid chocolate bar. I wanted the chocolate bar anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, it looked good. But like the Girl Scouts, for example, that's always a tough time.
The hard sell outside the supermarket.
But here's the thing. I won't. You have coworkers come in like, oh, buy from my daughter. I said, no. I said, I'll buy directly from your daughter, but I'm not giving you money.
She's got to do the work.
Exactly. That's the way I feel.
But also the difference is that you know that the Girl Scouts, this is part of their like training, you know?
Yes.
Like this is part of the deal. The kid, that's not your problem that they have a shitty playground.
Yes.
You know, yeah. Because the Girl Scout, you expect this. It's,
I like buying from the Girl Scouts outside
Women
Ralph's.
Scouts.
I like buying...
Lady Scouts.
Thank
you very much.
Okay, we always like to end on a weird note, and this story caught my attention. A drunk man wandered into a South Carolina Waffle House late at night for a bite, only to find that the staff was fast asleep. So he did naturally what you would do. He went behind the counter and prepared his own meal. I don't know. I mean, that's a bold move. I'd have to be pretty drunk to make that bold move. I think I would just wake up the staff.
Yeah, you just drop like something on the floor.
But it'd be a lot of...
But how
I mean, maybe these
know?
people were really out.
But like, how did this guy know? He didn't go to Waffle House U. How does he know he worked the fryer?
Well, he knew
Where did they keep the batter?
Yeah.
He was a regular there, and he knew he knew exactly what he wanted. I don't know. I think I could
like what goes on like behind the McDonald's line? That's a mystery. I don't know how that shit works.
I don't think I'm certainly not a great cook or anything, but I think I could go and figure out how to make myself a waffle.
And what is this? My understanding is Waffle Houses are like Denny's more, not like or is it more like Burger King, McDonald's?
No, it's more like a Denny's. I think.
Like one person's working there. Never been to a Denny's to one person.
That's actually weird too, because then this person got suspended apparently for 6 weeks.
I mean, was it like a tsetse fly like breakout?
I feel like it was altruistic because he didn't want to bother them and let them sleep. I'll just make it myself.
I'll tell you what. If I went into the thing and I made a waffle for myself, and then I found out the guy was asleep, got suspended, I would feel guilty that I made that waffle myself. I would go in there and I would demand and not suspend that guy.
Okay. I'm still like thrown that there was one employee and they were asleep.
I've never been to a Waffle House.
No, that's what me neither.
And if it was a sitcom, then after you made the waffle, more customers would have come
Yeah, and
in
then
and
all
you
of a
would have
sudden,
started taking
You
orders.
know, I only ate at
and-
a Denny's for the first time very recently.
See, I find that
Really?
very weird. Although Waffle House, my understanding is it's like an institution that does not exist north of the Mason-Dixon line, so
Yeah.
I don't think I have any here.
And we don't have any of that in Canada.
Yeah, we didn't have Denny's on Long Island. We had Friendly's.
I don't know what this sounds.
Friendly's
sounds
is
disgusting.
good.
Eh.
You get a fribble.
What's a fribble?
It's like their name for like a milkshake.
I'm still suspicious of Dunkin' Donuts.
Dunkin' Donuts, great. And I was driving this route from my job to my special lady friend's apartment. And
Special. We just like to be called special friends.
Special woman friend.
And I noticed a Dunkin' Donuts that I didn't know existed, and it's not that far from my job. I might have to hit that Dunkin'
There
Donuts.
you go.
They're the best. They're the best donuts.
And who said that life is hopeless?
Yeah. And on that note,
Canadians are only allowed to go to Tim Hortons.
Yeah.
We can't be seen
what
anywhere
they do
else.
is they strip you naked, they give you 1 day's worth of food and beer, and
That's
they make
right.
you walk north,
That's right.
and you're on your own.
It's not for the faint of heart.
Laura, thank you so much for coming on
Thank
the
you
show.
so much. What a pleasure.
One more time, tell the people where they can find you and find Lady Pilot.
So the website is www.ladypilot.com.
Excellent. Sean.
You can find me on all forms of social media at the Sean David. I have recently reposted my holiday classic, which is when I told the story. It's a YouTube video of when I shared the true story of Hanukkah. So check that out.
The true
I posted
story.
it on our Facebook page, and I'm going to tweet it out as well this week. So
None of this fake Hanukkah news. You got the real
I got the
story.
real scoop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can follow me on Twitter at The Real Will Link. I was just on a recent episode of the terrific Kill by Kill podcast.
Yeah.
I don't know, did you have a chance to listen to that
I
show?
didn't listen to it.
It's fun.
It's been a while since I watched Jason Takes Manhattan.
Yeah, where I am talking about 4 spectacular kills in the movie Jason Takes Manhattan. I'm a little upset, though. The kill right after my kills is the best kill in the movie in which Jason punches a guy's head off. I didn't get to talk about that. Also, I'm going to be doing Sit and Spin in
nice.
January. I believe, I should have written it down, but I believe it's the 18th. It's whatever the Thursday is, like the third Thursday. I believe that's the 18th of January.
Sounds about right.
Okay, so I thought
I'm looking.
I thought you were checking.
I'm
that.
looking. Yes, the 18th.
Okay, I'm doing it the 18th. So you should come see me read a story there. On a show next week, we're off because I'm going out of town for Christmas, but the week after that, it wouldn't be Will Sean Podcast if we weren't ending the year with the great Alex Stein, the all-time record holder for appearances
his
on
fifth
this.
time?
I think it's his 6th time.
jeez.
Maybe.
Does he get a jacket?
No.
No.
And as always, we always like to end the year with him. I'm sure it'll be a lovely year in review.
Yes, and he has a wonderful new podcast out that you
Called
were on-
Tell Me Who You Are.
Yes. Tell me who you are, something like that. Yeah.
I'm subscribed, and yet I can't remember the Tell Me.
And
Who
you were on it.
And I was on it. I'm blanking on
Yes.
the name.
Call me by your name. My name.
Your name.
Call me by your name. Yeah, that's right. Okay. Will.
And then the week after that, we're gonna have a fun episode where it's just me and Sean doing what we do best. We're gonna break down our top 10 films
Of the year.
of 2017.
And we
which
can
has
also do a
been
bad one?
Well, we know what the worst film of the year is. It's Olaf's Frozen Adventure.
That doesn't count.
I can't come up with 10 bad ones.
No, but like we'll come up with a couple.
Yeah, we'll
I'm
come
sure
up with a couple.
although we don't see shit. We're
And
pretty
I've got,
discerning.
yeah, we're very discerning. I was forced to see that Olaf thing because I wanted to see Coco, which was excellent. But
Well, that's gone. So now Coco, for all you people who haven't seen it yet, Coco is Olaf free. It is safe.
So many people protested they pulled it.
Yep.
The power of the people on the important issues. That's
Exactly.
what matters.
Yes, like why there's so many Jews in Norway.
Yeah.
And on that note,
No. Thank you so much.
Lauren, thank you for being on the show. It's
What a complete
fantastic.
pleasure. Thank you.
For the Will Sean Podcast, I'm Sean David.
I'm Will Link.
Chag Sameach, we're out.
What?